Hey everyone, this is Jackie Cooper, and we are recording. For those that are going to be popping in, you'll see that. And today is the June 2nd for the Maryland Blockchain Association's meetup. And you might see bits and pieces of this conversation as we splice and dice it and share it across social media, because there's a lot of wonderful information that's about to be shared. One of the things that I'm really excited to be able to share also with those that are listening, both in person today, as well as those that might see this virtually over a course of time. Everyone who's speaking is a member of either the Maryland Blockchain Association or Blockchain Legal Institute. So I really appreciate the diverse nature of who's part of our community and the expertise that they all have. So we have such a variety of individuals on who's speaking. We have attorneys, but we also have individuals within the blockchain space, and we also have security from a seed bank provider. So what we're gonna be doing is Ramona's gonna share first. And then we are going to have Mohan and then Emmett and then Tate. And I'm going to have each of you introduce yourself. And I'm going to be monitoring the waiting room so that way we can have everyone kind of come on. Ramona, I know that you and I connected a while back, and I was so excited because of last year's global summit dealing with sustainability and blockchain. And I do want to share out a few kind of little tidbits before you get started, that our Green Compass survey, which kind of summarizes about 16 of the speakers from the October summit, just got released. Not the Kindle version, which is free for everyone, but the other survey got released on Amazon today, or it just was submitted to Amazon, and the Kindle version will be out this weekend. So I'm really excited because of your whole focus and what you're doing. So I'm going to let you share right now, so that way we can learn more about where you are in the world and all the exciting ventures that you're up to.
Oh, thank you so much, Jackie. It's great to be here, actually, and great to meet everyone and see the work that you've been doing. So my background is well, let's say that I come from a traditional lawyer background, like capital markets, finance, investment funds. I got from France to the US and to the Cayman Islands and started working in the investment funds industry. And then at one point, like everybody here probably, I got down to the crypto rabbit hole and started to go from, oh, this is interesting. This could change things. I could build that. So instead of doing just project consulting for other people as a lawyer, it's like, actually, with this new technology, we could reinvent some things. And I got into reinventing law with Web3 technologies and co-founded Ixion. And that is like new emerging technologies with AI and then blockchain, how we can create new models, like really new legal entities that are fit for certain new ways of doing business, and like they are ready made and they work and they don't cost a fortune, right? So really excited about doing that. And then I had to leave the Cayman Islands this year because it's coming to my end of term and relocate to another island. And then I realized like all these islands are beautiful and they're connected and they have a lot of issues around sustainability and how to cope with climate change. And then they want to do the right thing for their people. And it's inspiring to see that they are starting to coordinate and work together. And this is where I'm coming from here with my report. So first off, I spent a month in Florianopolis in Brazil at the pop-up city. Like this is something that's emerging in the network state space, movement of startup society entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurs coming together to build new things and new ways of being in the world. And then on the heels of that, I went to St. Kitts for the Island Innovation Conference, which was amazing because it was like about 500 people, second in-person event. And then the government of St. Kitts was very supportive. They were launching their geothermal project, and they actually agreed between the prime minister with the opposition, and they sort of like both agreed to make it happen. And it's very inspiring to see, because in sort of a lot of constraints and with the positions that they are forced in because of climate change and because of all this instability, they will collaborate, and the islands are grouping together and they are collaborating more and more. So it got me thinking, maybe I should do a sort of like outreach about, here's what Web3 community is building, and here's what the open source is all about, and here's this the tech stack that could actually help you with what you want to achieve. So it was very interesting to be able to do that and to participate in a sort of workshop about future studies and future thinking. We may have started something there for Cyprus at least, which will be my next stop, right? After right now, I'm visiting with family in Bucharest, which is explains my background. I'm solar punking the city, but in my next step will be to organize a pop up in Cyprus, and we'll have a blue economy track because of what happened at the Island Network Summit. So I'm really excited about that. I'm going to stop here for now in case like.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. For everyone who's hopped on, we're going to do questions after everyone has had a chance to share. And also for those that are also just hopped on late, I'm going to make sure that everyone's contact information is in the blog below. So that way you guys can reach out to everyone as well. So let's see, who was it next? I think Mohan, I think you're next. And really excited to kind of have you be part of this because of, again, the environmental side and what you're doing to make a difference. So there seems to be a continuing theme here.
Great, great. Thanks, Jackie, for this. I think there seems to be some issue with my camera, so I think it'll come on and off. But
Yeah, don't worry about it.
thanks. Great. It's really great to be here. Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone. Great hearing you, Ramona, as well. And firstly, I'm thrilled to be myself and Decharge. We're thrilled to be a part of this Maryland Blockchain Association. I think we're honored and privileged to be here. Look forward to working very deeply with the entire team and the ecosystem. And first of all, I think if we take a step back and look at the broader perspective, right? I mean, we're at this very interesting stage of evolution, especially micromobility, where energy, mobility, and computation are all coming together in ways that they're going to transform people's lives, right? And when we talk about electric revolution, since the last decade or so, I think we're all used to electric vehicles. We've seen priors, we have heard it somewhere, but in mind we are still thinking that it's coming, but it's not. It's already here. If you look at it, Tesla is almost everywhere when you go on the streets. You have Rivian, you have Lucid, such really great cars coming in. Most of the people don't actually realize this, right? The problem is it's not the vehicles. The problem is the infrastructure, and that infrastructure is something that is going to slow us down like crazy, right? And what we did is we have spent many decades trying to prepare for this cleaner transport, right? But we have barely scratched the surface, is what we believe at Decharge. And even if we start doing it, we don't know how to power it efficiently. And even if we know how to power it, we don't know who gets to own and operate the most important aspects of the energy rails of the future. This is the big problem today, and that's where Decharge comes in. We are, to summarize in a single line, Decharge is building the autonomous energy economy. That's how we kind of position ourselves. We are building the autonomous economy, and it means that we are deploying decentralized, smart, intelligent EV charging infrastructure networks that are not just limited to cars. We are expanding that to an overall aspect of robots, drones, EV tolls, and the whole range of infrastructure, because we want to lay the foundation for the entire machine-powered future that runs on clean and accessible, and at the same time, sort of self-optimizing energy infrastructure. That's the way we have to build it. And if you look at NVIDIA's keynotes, if you see Jensen, he's always talking about us having 100 million robots in the next 5-10 years, right? All of these robots require access to energy. They're going to replace a lot of manual labor. They need access to energy. And traditional charge, like if you look at a Fiat, if you look at petrol stations today or fuel stations, gas stations that we know today, it has taken about 30 or 40 years for them to evolve to the place where they are today, right? It's not easy to build infrastructure at that stage. But for electric vehicles, we do not have the luxury of waiting for 2 decades to build that infrastructure, because by then it would have been too late. So the idea is to have this a function of network effect that grows really fast, have a decentralized approach, and have sort of like this Airbnb, but for charging, where every homeowner, every property owner anywhere in the world can be a micro entrepreneur and be a part of this infrastructure network by setting up their own charger. It's very simple. It takes less than an hour to get started. It's just basically a plug and play system, right? And it depends on the space they have. If they have one parking space, if they have an empty space in the garage, if they have a restaurant, if they have anywhere, they can just set the charger up and be a part of the network, and then we drive traffic to that. So for context, I'll give you a very quick example, right? If you look at, let's say, a very populated country like, let's say, India, right? We are looking at one charger for every 140 vehicles. That is insane, and it's only growing. Last year it was one charger for every 115 vehicles, I think, and then it's grown this year because the sales of the vehicles have increased by 21% in the last 6 months. Same things happening in even more mature economies. The gap is around one charger for every 40 vehicles or something ridiculous like that. So we see fragmented and centralized networks that actually take months and years to deploy. But the problem is that they have very little regard, at least from our observations, for local communities or fleet operators, and especially the rise of autonomous vehicles, right? Our belief is that today's charging networks are built for the past. They're obsolete. They're actually centralized, they're rigid, they're capital intensive, and they are mostly human operated. And but the future of mobility is autonomous. It is decentralized. It is machine driven. Let me give you an example of what I mean and where to make you see through our lens. If you've seen robotaxis are already out, right? June is the pilot rollout of robotaxis, and this is going to become mainstream across the world. In many areas, automatic driving, driverless cars are becoming a norm. Until now, we have seen our cars as depreciating assets. It's a write-off. You spend 6 years and then it's a write-off. And what does it do? 80% of the car's time is idle, right? You drive to wherever you want to go, you park the car, and then you come back, and then you park it again. And it's rarely used. You're spending money on it every month. But this is going to flip a whole 180. The self-driving economy is going to make it an asset, a revenue-generating asset. The car will drive around, drop you where you need to go. It will go and drop other people, generating revenue for you, and then come back when you summon it and drop you where you want to go. Now, that's the economy we're talking about. And if you see, let's say the car has dropped someone in a suburb 80 miles away and it's out of charge. What happens? Would you be able to go and charge it? Would you bring another human to charge it? That defeats the purpose of autonomous, right? So this is where this decentralized and autonomous economy comes in, and that is what we are building for. So when I said that the future of mobility is autonomous, decentralized, and machine-driven, this is exactly what I meant. Today, if you see our Twitter handle, we actually announced our robotic charging infrastructure powered by AI. So it's basically a deep in AI, where a car can any car, driverless car, can park next to it, and it connects remotely to the car. It communicates with the car. The charger automatically plugs into the car. The transaction happens remotely between machines, and then the payments happen between machines, and the car can go on its way without the owner of the car stepping out of the car or the need for an operator to charge the car. So we're actually building for maybe 5 years, 10 years ahead, right? And just checking, Jackie, if you're good on time, or if I have 3-4 minutes or 2 minutes, just based on that, I can calibrate.
Yeah, you have about 2 or 3 more minutes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, great. Okay. So basically, just kind of like summarize this. We are taking a radically different approach on how we are building this infrastructure. We're combining ultra-fast DC chargers for highways and logistics hubs, and modular community-hosted chargers for suburbs, and local and daily use. So that's how we are building it. We use a lot of machine learning algorithms, artificial intelligence, and H3 spatial indexing for smartly deploying chargers where they're needed the most. I mean, that might be a little too technical, but what it means is we're predicting the usage to optimize the uptime and to balance grid usage. This is important because we want to make sure that there is utilization across the spectrum. Most of the chargers are built for supply, but we are building it for demand. That's how we are flipping the story. And we enable basically everyone, right? Individuals, small businesses, property owners, or even homeowners to host a charger and earn passive income and become a part of this very large global energy network that we're building. Basically, the whole thing, it's permissionless, it's decentralized, and no bureaucracy, no red tape. It's just scaled by community. It's just super fun to build out. And we are very focused on machine-to-machine infrastructure. Um, we take care of the whole thing, like authentication, charging, payments, and all of that. And yeah, it's all blockchain powered, so it's transparency is there, permissionless is there, so that the community can rest assured that they are getting paid on time. All of their transactions are recorded. Everybody is happy. There's no missing money, no missing links, etc., etc. So yeah, right now we are building for global impact. We are scaling to about 3,000 plus locations in smart corridors across Southeast Asia, Middle East, United States, and Europe. And we believe that states like Maryland, which has very strong blockchain communities and a very strong focus on clean energy, can be a very strong catalyst for this particular global transformation. And yeah, to summarize, our global vision is very simple, but it's quite ambitious. I won't shy away from saying that. We want to have every street, every fleet, every device powered by the energy that is clean, and decentralized and autonomous. So yeah, we are looking to make energy sort of unstoppable, and ownership of charging infra is universal, right? Think of being a part of the fuel economy in the 1990s. If you had a chance to open a fuel station, we want to bring that opportunity to everyone around us. And yeah, with that, thanks, Jackie. Thank you again to the association for believing in what we're building, and thrilled to be a part of this. Look forward to partnering, collaborating, and growing this vision together, because future is not just electric. I think it's decentralized and it's intelligent. And thanks for your support. Thanks. I think I'll stop here.
No, it's great. I mean, the association definitely is excited to partner with you and others. And I know that we've talked about the fact that for those that are interested in obtaining the charging stations, that if you use the MDBA as a code, there's going to be a discount, and the association will also receive a residual to be, to help us with our educational outreach, which I'm really excited about, because there is a huge need for education on so many levels, both for the individuals within the community as well as within the schools. So I think and clean energy is definitely something we need to support. So for sure, I'm really excited about this. Now, another area that I'm really passionate about is financial security. I think, everyone who is here, and also those that have listened to my talk shows, know that I'm an attorney and an educator, and also an investor in crypto. Now, I will have to, now that I've said that, I'll have to give the normal disclaimers. This is not investment advice, financial advice, or any other type of advice. But from the perspective that if you are investing in cryptocurrency, then you have to think about one, how are you securing it? And so Emmett's going to talk about, the crypto seed bank, and we met in Toronto, and this is an area that I think is really important for individuals and families and businesses to talk about. There's so many different levels to this. So Emmett, I'm going to give you the floor. And to be honest, I have not gone over to Amazon to be able to order my crypto seed bank to do a little opening to show everyone what it is. But I, just like I open many wallets, I like to open up a lot of different tools to try to learn about them and to use them and to share with my family. So Emmett, it's your stage right now to share a little bit more about the history of the company and why you're so passionate about this.
Sure. Thanks, Jackie. Yeah, so a bit about me. I'm a doctoral student in criminology at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver, and I'm basically researching the human factor in cybercrime. So primarily why people are falling for scams and why people aren't making efforts to protect themselves online in ways like using password managers, using antivirus software, and of course keeping their crypto in cold wallets and protecting their seed phrases. So I co-created a product called Crypto Seed Bank. It's basically a kit for people to engrave their wallet seed phrase onto stainless steel with a tungsten tip pen, which helps to keep it safe, keep your seed phrase safe from fire and water damage. So, for those of you who don't know, it's generally considered the safest way to keep, or among the safest ways to keep your crypto, is to keep it on a cold wallet, such as a Trezor or Ledger device or USB devices. And those are backed up with a 24-word password called a seed phrase. And unlike a normal password, if you lose your seed phrase, there's no getting it back. There's no support line to call. That's it. Your crypto's gone. And there's been some big cases of people losing a ton of money because they lost a little piece of paper that had their seed phrase. And I made this product because I think it's crazy for people to be keeping their seed phrases just written on paper. If you think about the fires that tore through California recently, it's not inconceivable to imagine that a number of crypto users not only came home to find nothing, but also lost all of their crypto holdings because their hardware wallet that was in their house melted and the paper seed phrase burned up. Um, Whereas if they're using Crypto Seed Bank or another one of our competitors and stamping their seed phrase into steel, they can literally fish that out of the ashes and at least be able to get that back. Ultimately, what really drives me is that I hate people losing their money or losing their crypto for no reason. And between my research and business, I have a kind of unique perspective on cybersecurity, crypto security, with a focus on people's psychology and their attitudes and behaviors when they're facing online threats. And one thing that I've come across a lot, both in my research and my business experience, is that people often begin to take precautions only after they got burned. So people start using good passwords, unique passwords once they have their Gmail account hacked. They start paying for identity theft monitoring once their identity is stolen. And of course, they start to take their crypto security seriously once they find a wallet has been drained or they had all their money on FTX and then their account was drained and they lost all their funds. Another thing that I've also found in the crypto space is that people can people that are very involved in crypto can be a bit resistant to talking about some of these threats and some of these uh, crime types targeting crypto users. I think this is because things like the FTX scandal and some of these really high profile pump and dump schemes involving celebrities, they bring a lot of bad attention. And when you see, a CNN news reporter talking about these kind of major instances, it doesn't make crypto look great. It makes the community look bad. And I think because of that, serious crypto users don't really want to publicize and talk about the kind of negative aspects and the risks within crypto. Um, but yeah, for me, this is kind of the ground level. This is the foundations, and there's a lot of areas within crypto that are very exciting, have all these interesting real world applications, as Mohan was talking about. Um, but for people to be getting in and thinking about crypto as an investment, focusing first on the ground floor, on the foundation, on making sure that their crypto and their wallet is secure is really important. And so yeah, so I'm really excited to uh, have met Jackie and been introduced to the Blockchain Legal Institute and Maryland Blockchain Association, because I think that training and education are super important as people are kind of getting onboarded onto the blockchain, getting invested in crypto, but are more focused on the high yields and potential to 10x your money than they are on these kind of unique risks. And I think that education is really key to make sure that people are starting from a place of responsibility rather than just your excitement. And I'm really excited to see how I can add to this and, how I can share what I've learned about the importance of seed phrases and online self-protective behaviors. I think I'll leave it there for now and let the next speaker take over.
Yeah, no,
Thanks.
I appreciate what you're saying because I also was interviewed by Maryland Art for their Protect Week, which starts next week. And one of the individuals asked me, well, what's a seed phrase? What are the seed words? And they were saying, well, their listeners might not understand. And I said, well, it's the password to your wallet. But you're right. If someone is starting off in this community and they're excited about getting a wallet, then the very second thing that they should do after they open up their wallet is to get something like what you have, so that way they can preserve their information. Because if they're going to take the time to invest something, then they should think about how do they want to hold on to it. Because it's unlike going to Vegas casinos, where you know that you have a chance of winning, but you also have a large chance of loss. If you're looking at this as a long-term hodl and investment, then at least take the time to kind of invest in yourself. So I appreciate what you're doing. Tate, I know that you have been involved in the legal side and the IP side and so many parts of the blockchain law area. I know that you are going to be talking about a variety of different things. So what passion project are you going to talk about today?
Well, yeah, thank you for having me. It's good to be here, and it's great to hear these stories. It's pretty cool. My background is kind of similar to Ramona. I started before law. I was in banking and finance. I was underwriting business loans, and then I was liquidating business loans, and segueing over to law. And it was really the privacy aspect and the decentralization that really captured me. So I work with companies and everything from inception to sale. We do a lot of the sales side. We help some companies raise capital. And I think right now what I'm extremely interested in is the tokenization of assets, which we had a brief discussion over, everything from real estate to corporations, and how I really believe this new administration, and you were at the Bitcoin conference and I saw bits and pieces of it, but I'm really excited about some of the regulatory framework that's being discussed and legitimizing this. So, we could be at the forefront of something tremendous with new capital, new innovation, and how we look at assets, which is so exciting right now. I mean, if we roll out an exciting project and have investors from all over the world. So this is really, a 24/7, not just limited to what we can do here in the States with a limited, number of hours under different rules and, 3 or 4 different agencies. Right now I'm chief legal officer to Justifier Technologies, but also Prodo. Justifier, we are moving forward with the utility token, and it's really, again, it's in protecting your data on a separate blockchain, and you can use this utility similar to gas, and then it works within the chain itself and for the product. It's more of I won't get into the details itself. The product is probably more of a defensive product for the Department of Defense, or maybe police force. But it's a fascinating project, and we're moving toward that. But yeah, I see the SEC has, for anyone interested, they're having a seminar and a discussion this Thursday, and they're going to talk about tokenized assets. And everyone should probably check it out if you're interested in this area. I'll be jumping on. I signed up. I don't know if I'll be there physically, but it was 11 or 11:15 Eastern time is when they will be discussing. They've got a pretty good platform of folks that are managing high net worth family estate, family firms, but also wealth under management, people that are in this space that are going to talk about this. So it's pretty exciting. I don't know. I'm not creating any cool stuff, but I work behind the scenes. And I'm here for any questions, and I'm here to learn, and education as well. We talked about is so it's paramount. there are conversations I have, and I see eyes glazing over, and I would say about half a dozen times a year I'm invited to discuss an MBA program at Cal State, San Bernardino, sometimes at Pepperdine, and we talk about IP, we talk about trademarks and different things like that. That also aligns with these tokenized assets. I mean, when we're talking about licensing, when we're talking about dividends, when we're even talking about labor. I mean, there are so many things. And then of course it comes to, how do we quantify that? What does it look like? What does a smart contract look like? Well, it comes down to the data. So how do we how do we look at that? There's some great companies out there that I think are trying to, or that are working on those issues. So we're living through some exciting times, and I'll leave it at that.
No, I appreciate what you're doing. I know that you've had your hands in small, mid-sized, and larger companies. So definitely an experience, definitely experienced as an attorney for helping entrepreneurs and blockchain businesses. I see a continuing thread with all of you guys in terms of both the creative use of blockchain technology to help our community, or problem solve, like with what Emmett's doing from the seed bank side, to Mohan with the EV side, to both, Romana and yourself in terms of just applying the legal tech side. And, I guess with that, I'll also just kind of do a little mention that BLI is our hackathon is live actually on Dora Hacks, and the BLI Legal Tech Hackathon actually has $32,000 worth of bounties from Constellation, ICP, and Story, and two other protocols are talking about adding to the ecosystem. So the legal tech and the compliance reg tech, definitely is needed for any of the developers that are listening to that, hop on, because the projects can be submitted all the way up to October 31st. So definitely a lot of great opportunities here. I see we have some others that have hopped in. I'm going to open it up to anyone that has questions. Tanner, I know you've been helping me with different research, and I see Dr. Dave, and I see Keith, and others. And James, I see you here as well. Any questions for any of the speakers? And Omni, I see you too. James,
So
did
like
you?
hi. So I'm here for the first time.
Ah,
And just like I've been in crypto for some time, just want to, know what other people are doing outside of my own bubble. So I have heard about Tate like talking about privacy uh in crypto projects. So what kind of tech are you using to secure privacy for users?
One particular project is it's a separate blockchain, or it's a side blockchain, but utility is where you can maintain your data. The data can be audio, video, spatial, a whole host of data that you can protect on chain, and I guess it's decentralized. Uh, so that's part of Web 3.0, where we can maintain and manage our own data, which is where I believe we're moving toward. I mean, the cat's out of the bag. It's similar to decentralized finance. So it's also a device that you can protect yourself with. So you can manage or keep your data on the device, as well as use it for protection mechanisms.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
I have a question for Tate as well. When you talked about protecting IP, is there any movement toward using NFTs? We've already proven they can be used for IP with the artwork, but it strikes me that they're, a good smart contract wrapped around an NFT could act for licensing it and for, book, print, any kind of IP, whether it's, music, the whole thing. It seems to me there's a tool there that there should be a mechanism to make that work fairly easily for creators. And I'm just wondering how that's moving out into the blockchain community now? Is that something that's going on? I haven't seen much about it, but I'm curious. I'm a lawyer, by the way, and I do a lot. I have a lot of experience with IP. I'm not an IP lawyer, but I've been involved with it a very long time. And the licensing aspects that you can do through a smart contract just seem to be such a natural fit. I just wondered what you had to think about that.
No, thanks, James. I think that's a great question. I don't have a straight answer for you, but I was thinking about this the other day, and I think the first wave that we saw with NFTs was sort of a let's try this. You know, it was sort of uh, definitely wasn't a one-off because there are so many different things you can do. Um, I think if you tied those NFTs with maybe some type of an asset, not just the image itself, I think it would have a lot more traction. And when you come to licensing and royalties or resale, and in that smart contract, it triggers for example, if you're the creator, you own the copyright, you sold it to me, I sold it to Ramona, she sold it to Jackie, you're getting a fee per transaction. But I think if we look at those NFTs, and we get creative, and if we tie that to some type of an asset, I think it can get pretty interesting. Um, we haven't touched these for a while, besides licensing and assigning NFTs, and this was several years ago. I haven't really heard much since, but I'd be surprised to not see it, coming forward again. And I think we just need to get creative and look at these. There's so many possibilities.
Yeah, Ramona, did you want to jump in there? Otherwise, I'll share something.
I was laughing because we are doing exactly this, right? So one of my co-founders is actually building and coding, and it's like we can put the companies on chain with the NFTs, we can put contracts on chain with the NFTs. I'm making AI agents for the Island Network, and like people would be able to interact with them via NFT contracts. It's really a new world out there, and I'm really excited that we're able to build all these cool things in via the smart contracts.
Yeah,
Definitely happening.
yeah, and the other thing that I'll add, even though I don't have the specific company name, I know up in Consensus, there were a lot of companies that were talking about the protection of creative arts and the artists and their rights with using NFTs and using blockchain. And so there definitely there's a growing industry to protect not just the music or the art side, but other types of creativity. So the NFT is just one vehicle within it.
Can weigh in on that a little bit from
Yes, I saw you
academic,
unmute, so please do.
technologist
Nice to
perspective.
see you.
So I'm an architectural engineer in this space, and I've actually been working with distributed networking, distributed computing, data ledgers since the late 70s. So this technology's existed long before people caught on to it as Bitcoin. As far as NFTs, what a lot of people don't understand and what you really need to be careful with is if that the original is being created in a digital environment, understand, especially with the ERC 721 token standard, and most of them are just modifications of that, the metadata is not a ledger stored asset, i.e. hashed data. That gets stored in an off-network server someplace, wherever you decide to put it. So in digitally created, like if your contract example, it gets only created digitally, that metadata can be stolen. So it doesn't receive any of the protections of the mainnet with regards to the digital signature algorithm, the footprint that it leaves on the ledger, or anything else. So from a cybersecurity perspective, and I've spent the last 20 years working with cybercrimes headquarters as a federal agent, teaching them how to do the stuff I'm telling other people not to do, because you can get a hold of it. And cyber criminals figured that out And we can take it back from criminals, but it's constantly amazing to me that the general public still thinks it's safe.
I think currently there's like a new technology called zero knowledge proof, where we can just store a certain hash or encryptions of the contracts or some data off chain, and we can and we can prove a certain informations inside the contract for when we need it. For example, when we need to interact with certain the app or something. So I think that's like a certain level of protections.
Well, again, ZKPs are not new. The concept of ZKPs go back several decades. The computing capability to actually deploy them is been fairly recent. So you have interactive and non-interactive zero knowledge proofs. Most of the activity that you see right now are in non-interactive zero knowledge proofs. So like with the optimism rollups and things like that. And that is what zero knowledge proofs are for, is validating that the data you say you're presenting is accurate without actually presenting the data. But that is not a security protocol for the underlying data. That is simply to say, I know the data and prove to you that I know the data without actually showing you the data, because you know what the data is, I know what the data is, but I have to prove to you that I know what the data is. So zero knowledge proofs are not cybersecurity measures to protect data. It's simply a way to prove to each other that you're both talking about the same data. One of the things that I've actually patented the design model for walletless key movement for the government. I can actually tunnel keys through a tunnel of the TCP/IP Internet Protocol. Again, remember, web is HTTPS, CCP or CCS, JS, and sorry. And the internet is like a big tunnel. It's like a big water line. People can tap into it and get water. That's what the web does. The web taps into the internet to be able to distribute packets of information between websites. It's like in and out. Web is not secure. The internet itself is just a tunnel. You can actually tunnel through the internet and create your own private non-VPN access tunnel, which is essentially what I've done, is build technology around that. At the user interface, I'm actually using interactive zero knowledge proofs for user authentication, which allows me through an interactive prover verifier. I'm using AI in the background as representation of, rather than having to use a human administrator and be labored with, they authenticate there's an administrator that allows users into the user interface, into the tunnel. The user authentication can actually use AI based on information that the administrator has, that you basically train the AI, and then you can use interactive zero knowledge proofs to authenticate the user. So with all of that said, hopefully that gives a little better example of, it doesn't do anything to protect the data. It's just providing some level of proof that you are who you say you are, or the data is what you say the data is.
I still believe it can prove, it can like protect, because there are certain protocol right now that that like just port like the hash. For example, like I go to the KYC providers, I show them my identity, but then they only port on chain only the hash version of my the data with some soul or something. So it's like private, no one knows on chain. But when I interact with the app and the app requires me to show that I am older than 18, for example, I can use the proof. I can generate a ZK proof to show that I'm older than 18 without revealing my, my underlying information that I'm exactly like 25. So like they can only know that I'm older than 18, but they don't know that I'm, like
Yeah,
how old I am exactly. So like
right.
that's
But
what I mean, like protecting at least partially, you
right.
know.
But you're actually proving my point. All you're doing is authenticating your identity. But whoever has your original set of ID that creates that ability to um, interact in a zero knowledge proof environment, they've actually stored that ID to interact with that DApp that you're dealing with. It doesn't secure your underlying data. So if whoever originally took your KYC information, if their server is exploited, a data breach, you just lost your identity.
Well, like of course, like someone needs to port the hash on chain. But the thing is, like, let's say of like some because like it's like a oracle, someone has to like to do it like put it on chain. So and if like either I do it, but like someone need to verify that I also do it correctly. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, but I think you're missing the
Because
point
like
of
the
what
thing is,
a ZKP does because, again, that information, that hash of your data for a zero knowledge proof is actually typically, especially if you're dealing with a DApp, is being communicated through an API, which again is another cybersecurity vulnerability. Because your data typically is not in the transaction ledger. The transaction ledger is for the transactions of the mainnet. So your data is being stored somewhere, it's being hashed, and then when like a roll up or an authentication is calling, it will call a contract that now has an oracle to a server and will API the information through the oracle to the layer 2 contract to authenticate through a ZKP algorithm that, oh yes, this person's 18. It's not sharing, I mean, does that make sense? That's how those things get built.
like the thing is like I can see like how we can do it by if we have like a kind of verify app of off chain that can like look at my ID, for example, my passport, and then it calculates like the hash, post it on chain, and then discard it that immediately, like my ID info off
It's
chain.
again, it's not communicating your ID. Your ID lies on a server. All it's doing is APIing the hash.
It can be discarded. It's only need I only like it only needs my ID in the step where it calculates the hash
But you gave
and then put it
somebody
on chain. But
right.
afterwards, it like that ID, it doesn't need to stay on some server. It can be discarded. Yes.
When well, to your point, it depends on the jurisdiction that you're in. Because if you're in the United States, that information has to be kept.
And that was going to be something that I was going to ask Keith, how in his knowledge of the different states that you've worked in, how have you seen this question been answered?
So I would say it's, of course, a valid point from Dr. Dave, but it's not. There's nothing different about Web3 versus Web2 in this regard. Zero knowledge proof just secures the transaction itself, not the underlying data, but that's up to the endpoint to do that. Um, you know, it, so it's a scary world. I think it's definitely more secure with zero knowledge proof with uh public ledgers. And you know, you securing your endpoint is up to you.
Ramona, what have you seen from other parts of the world in terms of how they've dealt with this question about identity and everything else like that?
So there's two things I wanted to bring, like as an offering, as an update. First, there is a consortium project about decentralized KYC and reusable KYC that's forming, centered around the providers that have compliance regulatory requirements and they have to verify, so they cannot just, interact with any wallets. And it's called IDOS Consortium, and essentially their buy-in for a lot of the decentralized protocols, because the compliance providers, then they can on ramp, and then they can sort of like do a wallet check, green check something, and then the user is able to share securely the information, the data, with whatever provider they want to interact with that is in the network and reliable, right? Verified. So that's one aspect of it. And then outside of that provider verified, having the reason to know, you can just share some of the data points, such as I'm not a US person, or such as I'm not on an OFAC list, or like whatever data point that you want to share, that you need to share for that purpose. So that's a good advancement. And I know, so not sure if you guys know, ETH Prague just ended. One of my co-founders was there, and then he was a mentor in the hackathon. So we followed the projects, right? And then one of the projects did zero knowledge proof of location, which is very interesting if you think about it, because a lot of the Web2 projects are clearly tracking people and identifying and based on locations of where you are. And with this project, they are able to attest that the person is in the general sort of like neighborhood or is connected to a certain community, but without clearly tracking them or identifying them or revealing who they are. So it becomes very interesting in terms of layers and possibilities. I think that there's going to be a lot of more developments. There's been at eDenver, there was a ZK house or House of ZK. So a lot of new developments here in terms of like how to actually make the internet a bit safer. And one aspect I wanted to bring up, because someone pointed it out to me recently, and like it's just like so obvious, like a few, maybe not a few years ago, but like 20 years ago, people would not have questioned having their names and telephone addresses and actual addresses in the yellow page, white pages, whatever it was, right? And now we're kind of outraged at the idea, the possibility that someone would actually know who we are. It's like, what's our phone number? And like, where do we live? Yeah. So things have changed.
Things have changed. So I think this actually rolls back to you, Mohan, because of the fact that you're actually, creating this decentralized community, but your company, which is going to be creating this infrastructure and network of individuals who actually have this, these machines for other people to go and visit to charge. You're dealing with a lot of identity information and also creating a map. How have you had to deal with that? Because you're also international.
Yeah, so this is good. This is good because we're getting into a very technical aspect.
Yeah.
Very important aspect to note, and I really agree with Dr. Dave when he said we were talking about the the ZK proofs, especially because we use a bit of that in our implementation. The internet itself introduces vulnerabilities. That's the nature of internet itself, right? The way we look at it is that internet is like a public highway. It's not a vault. But I think the way we use zero knowledge proofs for that is to minimize. They don't replace the security infrastructure as such, but in our case, we use them to minimize what can be trusted. So that's how we kind of look at it. And exactly, taking again Dr. Dave's stuff, we're saying that the zero knowledge proofs are not there to kind of protect the tunnel in his use case, the tunnel itself. But what we do is we ensure that nothing sensitive actually ever enters into that tunnel in the first place, basically, right? And instead of transmitting things like identities, and we do transmit the proof of identity. So basically, no names, no addresses, no data honeypots, and all that stuff that they don't even get into that. And let's say that the highway that we talk about itself is compromised. the attackers then actually walk away with nothing, basically. So uh, for us, we don't think ZKs are a silver bullet, but we are looking at DIDs also. We are looking at encrypted metadata. We are looking at hardware-based signatures because we have self-signatory on our hardware itself. And we're trying to create the closest we can to a privacy stack. That's as much as we can go right now. It's not perfect, but what we do is that it's radically better than in the traditional Web 2 sense, the surveillance first models that they kind of adopt, right? And we built this overarching Web3 identity layer that we call it. Basically, that's using wallet logins like everybody does. And what they do is they anchor the identity of the users on chain. And using this, we enable what do you call it, like sort of pseudonymous access. And we only allow verified credentials to be attached through, again, through Web2 off-chain attestation. So that's how we kind of map those two things, right? And yeah, apart from that, we also do like KYCs where we are instead of storing sensitive KYC data, we leverage wherever possible, as I said earlier, ZK proof systems, and we know that they're verified without having to expose too much personal information. And as long as they're compliant with the platform requirements, we don't care too much, because that's we're more worried about preserving policy, especially because we're international, because we have to deal with so many jurisdictions and so many data
Yeah,
privacy laws. We
yeah.
don't even get into that layer. And this is where compliance comes in, especially for fiat on-ramps or government-based incentive programs, utility integrations with BESCOMs and other grid providers. We partner with regulated third-party providers, KYC providers, and we don't directly handle the KYC directly. They provide the identity checks, and we just store like the proofs or hashes for verification, and then we just match hashes. That's as much as we want to go. And yeah, that I think meets most of the standards. We are also exploring DID in some sense, uh, but we are not like fully there. We just want to make sure that identity is kind of reusable across the network. But it's not top priority, but I think we'll get there someday. So these are the things that we're kind of doing, which through an audit we found are best practices. And in fact, we believe this is something that should be adopted by everyone without getting too much into privacy, just making sure you get as close as possible. Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I know that I'm looking at the top of the hour. We're almost at 8 o'clock, and I know that the meetup ends at 8. So I'm going to ask Tate, any last minute thoughts, because everyone's had a second round, on what you see as a trend or something that we need to be thinking about over the next month before the June Maryland meetup with another group of great speakers and everything, but in terms of the projects that you're working on, or something current event wise that you think we should have our eye on.
That's loaded. I mean, after all these
I know.
conferences, I don't have anything more to say, but I think it'd be interesting to see what happens with the stable coins and what we can and can't do with that. And I think we're overlooking the benefits of folks in areas that just don't have stable currencies, that are war zones and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And there are huge benefits for that, but we're also overlooking some other thing. I think we should watch that. I think we should watch legislation. And Vance had some interesting words about our space. Now we have a duty to educate, I believe, but I think we also have a duty to make sure this moves forward. All of this, and that's part of that's being active in our local elections and having a voice, because that can change rather rapidly, as we saw. So
Yeah.
that I leave it at that.
I think what you said is extremely wise. I think that it's not just on the federal side that we need to be doing our votes, but also on the local side, and becoming active within our backyard to share, which is why I created the Maryland Blockchain Association, so we could let the legislators and those within our General Assembly know that we have such a diverse community, and that we need their support to economically develop this technology, as well as to support those that need the education. So with that, thank you everyone who has been on today. I'm super excited to be able to share this out on social so that way people can learn more about what you guys are doing. And next month, I'll see the next group of people that are stepping up to kind of share their experiences. So everyone, thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you both in person at different events as well as, on Zooms. So thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.